Everyone, my name is Amanda. Oh, there we go. We are recording. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Aronson. I'm principal of Aronson Consulting, and I offer strategic planning to women who want to take their personal and professional development seriously. So welcome to today's session. I'm so glad that you're joining us, and I hope that your day is off to a good start. We are together for about 10 minutes today, longer if you have questions, and which I'm happy to answer. And I'm really glad that you're able to join us. Our topic today is to discover why purpose will help you more than motivation. So I'm assuming that what drew you here today was that you had a goal of some sort in mind, whether it's a professional goal or something in your personal life. So we are going to offer a little dose of information that hopefully will be a support to you. So I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started on that. Okay, so the first question that most people have is what will help you more, purpose or motivation? And the answer is absolutely purpose. And the reason for that is because motivation is conditional. And I think if you take a little bit of time just to consider that for yourselves, you'll reach the same conclusion. There are just too many things happening on any given day, whether it's family, activities or work activities. The weather is changing, our climate is changing from season to season, we're traveling, there's a lot of things going on. So when we're trying to reach a goal, relying on motivation is not typically going to be the best idea because the conditions are always changing. So let's think about, we're going to spend time today talking about two different examples that I hope will be helpful to you. And the first is an example that might be useful to you if you're thinking about something that is aspirational, if you're looking to challenge yourself to achieve something hard. And this is a season with lots of half marathons and marathons. So there are a lot of people who will think to themselves, I'd like to do something difficult. So if that is the purpose, the very first thing that a runner would want to do is think about the goal. And if the goal is to cross the finish line at a half marathon, then that's the first step. And research shows that people who do set goals are better positioned to achieve them. But the focus can't remain on the goal. You almost need to set it aside. So it's what happens next that's most important. So let's take, for example, a woman who wants to run a half marathon. Now that's usually a 10 or 12 week training process. So what that person is going to do first and foremost is, after establishing the purpose for wanting to run it, she's going to establish her goal to cross the finish line, and she's going to use her motivation to plan her process. So I'm going to say that again. She's going to use her motivation and her excitement to plan her process. So the first thing that she's going to do is pick a race, register for it. She's going to go over to Fleet Feet and get some new shoes, and she's going to start running. So the focus becomes picking that training plan and really digging into those details for how you're actually going to make that progress. So for anyone who's run a half marathon, you know that a lot can happen in 10 to 12 weeks. You've got weather changes, people are traveling, and a runner will need to be very clear on not what's going to happen in different conditions, but just how it's going to happen. So the focus goes from the macro goal to crossing the finish line, which they've probably forgotten about, to the micro goal of what needs to happen that week or that day to make progress. And one of the exciting things about progress is that crossing a finish line in and of itself is not, and reaching the goal is not necessarily the piece that's going to make you happiest. It's the striving for the goal. So every time you do something that makes progress towards that goal, you actually get a little dopamine hit, and it keeps you feeling good about your progress. So that's not to take away from the fact that when you do cross the finish line, it is very exciting. So for those of you who are familiar with the JCC community, you probably recognize Erica and Avi, who did just that. They put their purpose. I don't know what their purpose was. You could ask them. But their goal was to cross that finish line, and they did it under a set of conditions that were changing. They picked their training plan and they crossed the finish line. So congratulations to Erica and Avi. That's wonderful and very inspiring. If you are someone who's ever considered running a race, if you can get yourself to 2 miles, you can be ready to run a half marathon or even a marathon. You just need to pick your plan and follow it, and you will cross the finish line. So something to consider. Okay, so let's look at what this looks like with a different kind of goal. Let's say you have a health goal. And I am going to use my own story because, quite frankly, I have the photos. And this is one that I think a lot of us can relate to. So in 2018, I found myself at my naturopath's office talking about my health. And she said to me, you know, you have very high cholesterol and your inflammation is through the roof. This was not something that I had ever had to deal with in my life before. And I had tried to rely on motivation to manage some of those things, but clearly that was not working, or we wouldn't have been having that conversation. So that was very frightening to me, to think about having all that inflammation in my body at such a young age, because I'm only in my 40s. So the purpose for me walking out of her door was to reduce my cholesterol and reduce my inflammation. And that was not going to be easy. So I set a goal. And in this particular case, the goal was to get to a healthier weight. That's not always the goal when it comes to health, but it was in my case. And so that was going to be something difficult and something that was going to take a lot of concerted effort over an extended period of time. So I didn't rely on motivation. I used my motivation to really get myself positioned for preventative health, to establish a goal. And so then that goal, I used the motivation again to establish the process to reach that goal. And that process involved a number of things, but of course, the two primary things were looking at a structured plan for my nutrition and for my exercise. And so those plans included education, mental health support, social support, and systems for accountability. So later today, you're going to hear from Sharon, if you tune back in, about daily habits. And I would encourage you to take a listen to some of that information, because we can never hear it too often. And daily habits really help if you're approaching a health goal. So I use my motivation, driven off a purpose, to put a process in place. And then that process, over the course of many months, helped me achieve a much better preventative health position in my life. So some of the bonuses there were some consistent mood management. I had firm routines. And again, that sense of pride that I was able to achieve something hard by putting a process in place and following it. So when you're looking at trying to do something that feels very purposeful to you, chances are it is for a good reason. Now, the real value there for me was that I'm going to live longer, hopefully, and be able to spend time with my family, enjoy them, support them. So goals really do have deep meaning for us. And when you want to achieve them, you know, thinking about the best way to do that becomes very important when it's something real like your health. Okay, so let's just do a quick review. So if you're thinking about how to achieve a goal, you first want to clarify your purpose, and then you want to establish a goal. You want to start at that macro place, and then you want to set it aside. You want to use your motivation to plan your process. So then what you're doing from day to day is you're managing those micro moments, micro decisions, so that you can always go forward and backwards with your progress. It's going to make it much easier for you to approach. You're not going to be thinking about the goal. You're only going to be thinking about what's in front of you and managing those micro moments. So I want to thank the JCC for having me this morning, and I want to encourage you to really, if you're a member already, to reconsider some of the resources that you have available to you at the JCC. All of the things I mentioned, like naturopath, health planning, nutrition planning, exercise planning, social support, all of those things are here. And if you are not a member, I hope you will consider looking into it. Later this morning at 11:30, Sharon is going to be doing a guided meditation, and there's other things for you here today. And if you want to learn more about what I do, my goal really is to help you strengthen yourself so that you can strengthen your impact. And you can learn more about how I do that on my website, AaronsonConsulting.org, or on Instagram at Amanda Aronson with the number 1. We do personal development topics each week, and it changes from week to week. So thank you, and I'm very happy to answer questions if people have them, or you can have a wonderful day.
Any questions from anybody?
Yes, I'd like to know if Amanda is going to be sharing her slides with us, because I'd like to post at least one of them on my wall to remind me.
I'd be happy to. I'm going to post the one of Erica and Avi crossing that finish line too, so it keeps me motivated for my own big goals.
Well, I've heard that you didn't mention me because I did the race with them.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Actually,
I'm going to have to do another session.
So their purpose was to celebrate his birthday together. I think that was what started the thing. Yeah. So I ran with them, but far away from them because it was their thing to do together. So.
Oh, congratulations. And I know Randy ran also. I didn't ask for
yep.
permission to post her photo, so I only asked Erica.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Did you find that that resonate, what we talked about today about?
No, totally. Because the motivation, like you said, came second. I really had to just have the macro goal, then the micro goals. That was when you said that, I didn't even realize that's what was happening. So applying that to like anything that we do is really helpful, because, you got to start big and then break it down.
Yeah, it's much easier to look at those micro moments, because as we go through the day, it's just you're making one decision at a time. So if one day doesn't go well, you just start again the next day, and you're not too far off track. But I think once you set the goal aside, you've already planned for it, so you don't need to worry about it anymore. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah, that was a great example to use, though, really.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad it resonated, and how exciting that you crossed that finish line. I don't know if you found this to be true also, but most people I talk to who have done something like a race or an endurance event, they'll say that it's exciting to cross the finish line, and that high kind of lasts a while. But it's really that pride of doing the training and all the inclement weather, all the injury management, everything it took to get across the finish line is really where the pride resides.
Well, you also mentioned the support when you did your personal thing. You mentioned the support, along the way. And I think watching people doing this, both Randy and Avi and Erica had cheering sections, and they had people supporting them along the way, including the people who work for the race. And so if you apply that to like a work goal, maybe everybody who you work with should know what you're doing, and maybe check in with you to say, how's that coming? Because having a support team, doing it on your own does not work. You've got to have, whether it's your family or your coworkers or your friends, I really think having those people along the way makes a big difference.
And especially when it's a work goal, because I think people they want to be helpful. People's first instinct is to be helpful. So they might automatically start thinking about how they can help. So if they have a resource, or if they can check in or ask or share your progress or celebrate those little moments that happen along the way, that can be particularly helpful if someone has a professional goal in the work setting.
Absolutely. Yep. So that was great. Thank you so much, Amanda. We really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Well, we'll be back tomorrow doing another session on how to level up your personal and professional lives. So hopefully that'll be a fun one too.
Wonderful. All right. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Hi, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.